Call this meeting to order, please. Please stand for the pledge. Supervisor Sullivan, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call.
Supervisor Grieco.
Here.
Supervisor Stoddard.
Present.
Supervisor Barone. Absent. Supervisor Wheeler. Here. Supervisor Chair.
Here.
Supervisor Jamesa.
Here.
Supervisor Allen.
Here.
Supervisor Sullivan.
Here.
Supervisor Strebe.
Here.
Supervisor Coddington.
Here.
Supervisor Quackenbush.
Present.
Supervisor Radzikowski.
Here.
Supervisor Sweet.
Present.
Chairman Thayer.
Here.
Supervisor Stagliano.
Here.
Privilege of the floor, public comment period. If you have something to say, please rise and give us your name and then your statement, please.
Thanks, Chairman. My name is Bill Peeler. I'm the mayor of the village of Fonda. I'm here about the bypass feasibility study tonight. I understand that it is not with support and that it may be withdrawn tonight. I speak on the behalf of the village. I've lived here all my life. Live here on Broadway, where we have over 10,000 truck vehicles a day coming through. We have numbers that go from Bridge Street, 14,000, to Broadway, 10,000, 4,000 to our east, 5,000 to our west. We have the most impact from the amount of traffic that's coming through our small village. Yet we have the smallest voice when it comes to passing these resolutions and supporting these grants. I read that some of the supervisors have received phone calls from folks primarily at Switzer Hill. And I think it's premature to say that Switzer Hill would be the route that this would take. That's the idea of the feasibility study. I've also listened to my co-mayor, I've listened to other folks that have echoed, what about business? Are we going to lose sales tax revenue? Well, with a tax base of 200 grand a year, sales tax is very important to us within the village. And I would not be standing here today if I thought it was going to damage it. I think it will have a counter effect to what everyone else is believing on this, at least what is voiced. We need this feasibility study. These handful of folks that have concern, I think it's premature to have those concerns. They had an opportunity back in the 90s to build this bypass. We see the wall every time we go outside east of the village of Fonda, where it was going to be built. Yes, I would say Switzer Hill would be a bad choice, but that's my layman opinion. I think we need to go to the folks that are trying to make these decisions and give us the guidance. Right now we have homes up there that are $300,000 homes, and I can understand that. I would be protecting my home too if I was those folks. But once again, no one has said that Switzer Hill is the designated location for this bypass. That's what we need to find out. If Mr. Radzikowski withdraws it tonight, I ask somebody to pick up the bill and move forward with it. I understand $500,000, $600,000 is a lot of money for just a feasibility study. However, the money's going to be spent regardless if this board moves forward or not. It'll be spent by another community and utilized by another community. I've lived in this house. I was born and raised in the same house that I live in currently. My parents have lived in that same home since the early 50s. We didn't expect this traffic. We didn't ask for this traffic. Just like our residents and our taxpayers in the village didn't ask for it. So I think that I'm asking you all to look at this. I mean, I look at the numbers, the traffic flow numbers from 2009. 14,000 vehicles, 10,000 vehicles. We have 11,000 going up to Route 30 in the city. Our infrastructure was not made for this. We cannot handle it any further. And I think it would behoove the board to at least allow the feasibility study to go forward with supporting it.
Anybody else? Got a lady in the back first, please. Go right ahead.
I live on Swenson Hill.
Could you give us your name, please?
Robin Wilkie. I've lived there for 28 years. That street, or road, is zoned for no trailers. There was supposed to be no semis. There was no businesses. You could have a business, you couldn't hang a shingle to advertise it. You couldn't board anybody's horses. You could have a horse, but you couldn't board it. I don't understand how they put a highway up there. When I first moved here, I had written to DOT, to Mr. Adamkowski, and asked him to put in a solid line past my house because as you come up the knoll to Swenson Hill, it's like the extension of Honda Speedway. They would hit the knoll and they stop, head off. I asked and never put up a mailbox for 20-some years, not wanting my kids to go there to get the mail because I was afraid they were going to get my car. I called DOT, asked him to put in a solid line. He said he didn't feel like the traffic was feasible. So today there's a solid line there, but I don't think it's a good idea. My son owns a home down there. I own one. It's not a good road to walk on, not unless right now. I don't agree with it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Ryan White, Village of Boltonville. I'd just like to speak briefly on the bypass study. I know there's been a lot of debate on whether it would be good or bad for the villages of Boltonville, the town of Mohawk, a lot of different people, a lot of different aspects. But I am asking if there is anybody that would be willing to pick up the bill and support this study. It is a fully funded study that is not asking for any monetary contribution from Montgomery County. And the study is to identify a route. We don't know where it's going to go. We don't know the economic, environmental, sociological impacts of this bypass. That's what the study is for. That's what the $400,000 in federal grant money and the $100,000 contributed by Fulton County is for. So I'm asking that you all possibly see that side of it, that this is not saying, let's build the bypass. It's saying, let's find out if the bypass is even a feasible project or if it's a good alternative. It might come back and say it's not an alternative that's feasible from an engineering standpoint. But this is just a study, purely a study. You know, none of this money is going towards construction. And that's all.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Clark Subik. I live up on 1140 Old Trail Road in the town of Mohawk. And I appreciate the chance to make a couple of comments here tonight on the bypass as well. I've spoken to several supervisors prior to tonight's meeting about my concerns with this. And I mean, let's face it, a couple of people have said this is only a study tonight. And I agree, if it was to be done, it would only be a study, but you know, the study would be the first step in building a road if things went to that limit. And myself and I'm more on the west side, as you might not know by my address, but I'm over almost towards past Bossard Road. So I'm a little bit away from Switzer Hill, but I have friends over there, and I've had calls from them, and all of us are frightened with the idea of a road coming up through the town of Mohawk where we live. We hear things that's 30 years off. I disagree. I think there's, a desire by Fulton County to press forward with this in all, haste rather. And I don't think they would have our concerns at heart. So I do want to thank our town supervisor for listening to the residents up in our area. And as we made him aware of our concerns, he's responded to that. And I'll be brief here, but as they say, the negatives are there 10 to 1 for the town of Mohawk. Property values would be negatively impacted. The aesthetics we enjoy of living in the country. I do a little farming on the side. We have very nice farmland up there that would be impacted. and it would just change our whole way of life. I was told by our supervisor that the last study, the comprehensive study that was done with the town of Mohawk survey resulted in a tally of 90% of the residents favored continuing a rural agricultural setting, and they're not in favor of development. I can also say this as a member of the town of Mohawk Board of Assessment Review, with a number of years' experience behind me. There's no doubt about it that people's property values would be negatively impacted. Anybody that has a nice house up there and of a truck corridor, let's say they're saying a road, but it's primarily to be a truck corridor. A truck corridor going through anywhere near those homes would ruin people's property values. And there's some very nice houses up there. I wouldn't wish this on anybody, whether it was my end of the township or the other. The only economic benefit would be Fulton County, as I can see, only negative for the town of Mohawk. And there's other reasons I could go on to mention here, but I want to be brief. So in closing, I'm asking the board tonight not to support the bypass study. Thank you.
Okay, so right here.
My name is Kim Hildreth, and I live on Switzer Hill Road, and whether or not it comes through is at this point, I think, beside the point. It's probably going to win, and if the study is completed, that would probably be the most feasible way to go through. And I can appreciate the supervisor taking the time to listen to the phone calls and the other concerns that we've had from those of us that live up on Switzer Hill, as well as in the surrounding communities. I work for New York State, and I work with several state and federal entities, and I work a tremendous amount in grant funding. And let's face it, the state and feds don't give out $500 grand unless they're going to take care of something, and they're going to have it done. So with that being said, as of August 20th, they're already saying, Mr. Dios to say, if you're interested in putting it as an engineering firm to come through and, put in with the RFP and go ahead and take a look at doing this study. I didn't know it was approved at that point. So I think maybe there's a couple of different carts before the horse here. I don't think it is a reasonable and feasible thing to ask the people that are living up in that part of the community, and we moved there for a reason. I've only been there 4 years. They use that road up there for a racetrack, period. You're absolutely correct. They hit those bumps up there by my house, and I live right above the school. They're airborne. I don't walk my dog at night out there. I don't even go to the end of my driveway because I've almost been clipped. It's ridiculous. There aren't supposed to be tractor trailers coming up and going down from there, but there are, and they're dangerous. Sometimes they don't make the turns. They're taking out the gravel. We had to have new culverts put in, and there's not a whole lot of leeway up there for error, and so it's a very dangerous area to be out there sometimes, especially in the wintertime. So I would hope that if the feasibility study goes through and engineers go and get paid for the RFP in the appropriate manner and all processes are followed accordingly, that there would be legitimate consideration to property values, safety issues, and what the actual people that live up in that area of the community believe. The other piece of this is, yeah, it didn't cost us anything. What are we getting out of it? And so far, I haven't seen anything. I appreciate the fact that Fonda has a tremendous amount of traffic, in that their infrastructure there are issues with the infrastructure. I also appreciate the fact that I fought through traffic over that bridge across the railroad tracks for how many months, partly because of that reason. It was supposed to be built to be able to take on that additional traffic, additional weight, and things were to be reinforced. It's not costing us anything right now. Who's maintaining it once it's done? Where are the people and the jobs coming from? Where is the tax revenue going to go? Is Fulton County going to come down here and plow it in the winter? Are their guys going to go out there and take care of the sides of it? I don't think so. So right now, yeah, it looks good on paper, but in reality, I just don't personally believe that it's a very good idea. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name is Richard Allen. I live at 790 Old Trail Road, which is on the corner of Switzer Hill. And I also want to talk in opposition of the bypass study. I feel that there's really no benefit whatsoever for Montgomery County besides diminishing travel through Fonda's business district, which also in turn would lessen sales tax revenues. The mere thought of a study also will decrease the value of homes in the Switzer Hill area, because every time you read anything about it, they keep on saying Switzer Hill, Switzer Hill, Switzer Hill. And with this getting out there is devaluating the homes there. I've been there for 26 years. I have a lot of, besides my sweat and everything put into my home, a lot of money that I put into it. And someday that I would like to get some of that money back, and it's just gonna be going right down the drain if this bypass goes through. Regardless of where the bypass is located, its sole purpose is to be a conduit through our community directly to Fulton County. This will negatively affect every business in Fonda and Fultonville. Should a new route be developed through the countryside of the town of Mohawk, property values will drop severely, again leading to a decrease in tax revenues. In conclusion, our county should be attempting to increase tourism and business within our county instead of diverting people into other areas. And again, I feel for Fonda and Fultonville and all that, but just by always mentioning it, that there's a study and all that, is just appreciating all our homes on Switzer Hill. Thank you.
Anybody else? I have this lady right behind you first, Bob.
I'm also voicing concerns and objections to the corridor. My family recently purchased the old Jaffe apartment on 19 Cemetery Street.
Could you give us your name, please?
Patricia Brooking.
Thank you.
I'm also the executive director of Hayward Hope Farm and Residence, which is seeking a grant currently to build a transitional housing for homeless women and children. With the job training program, I'm going to put a lot of effort into laying groundwork for these programs and putting together collaboration agreements for services. We're probably a year away from submitting our grant application for collecting data on homelessness currently through both departments of social services, because that data currently doesn't exist. So that's being collected now in collaboration with this grant application. I see that even a rumor of a corridor possibly going through our property, because if you look out my kitchen window, what you see is the bridge coming across the Mohawk. So it's reasonable to say that we could be a possible right through our property. So for the state, OTDA, to make a 25-year commitment to grant, we're talking $2 million or more, to grant for this transitional housing, with a potential for it being mowed down or the land being lost. And the whole basis of our programs is that it's a holistic, natural environment where these women will be totally changing what they're accustomed to. They'll be coming out of the city and living a more natural, serene life where they can actually focus on keeping families back together. I mean, it just destroys the whole concept of what we're trying to accomplish, and I think that would be a huge loss. So I strongly urge you not to approve this.
My name is Bob Subic. For 12 years, I was the corporation counsel for the city of Johnstown in the 80s and early 90s, and I currently serve as the town attorney for the town of Root and the town of Palatine. But I'm not here tonight in any of those capacities. I am here tonight as a private citizen, a resident of the city of Johnstown and of Fulton County. And the topic that I wanted to address is not the Switzer Hill bypass project, but rather it is my understanding that this board, among other things tonight, is going to consider a resolution to ratify a contract to purchase a portion of the former FJ&G Railroad right-of-way as it runs from our industrial park down to the village of Fonda and meets the New York Central line. I am here to voice my opposition to your doing that, and I will state my reasons for it. 25 years ago, a not-for-profit corporation was set up by the city of Johnstown to take over the remnants of that right-of-way from the Delaware and Otsego system. I'm the guy that did that. I set up that corporation. And our purpose in doing it at that time was twofold. at that point in time, we had severe problems at the Gloversville-Johnstown Joint Sewer Water Treatment Plant, sewage plant. And the stream that receives the waters from that plant is the Cadetta Creek, as of course all of you know. It's a very small stream. It's really only up the width of a couple of desks in its low flow conditions. And so one of our purposes in reserving that right of way was if we ever needed, the state got down on us and put even stricter regulations on the amount of flow that we could let out into that receiving stream, we reserved that right of way so we could build a pipeline directly from the plant to the Mohawk River, which is a much, much larger receiving stream, and could have taken that waste without violation of these kinds of permits. That was one of our primary reasons in doing it. The other was that there was always the thought that possibly sometime in the future, railroad service to our industrial park would be resumed, and we would want to keep that corridor open so that that line could connect us with the New York Central line. Most of the towns in the Mohawk Valley are directly served by the New York Central line. Amsterdam, Fonda, Little Falls, and so on and so forth, Schenectady. But in Fulton County, Johnstown and Gloversville, our only connection to the New York Central line, which is the heartblood of railroad traffic through the state of New York, is that corridor. And if we lose it, we'll never get it back. So that was a primary thought in my creating that corporation 25 years ago, was to preserve our ability, in case it ever became feasible again, to put a railroad back for either light rail or freight rail or whatever to service. And of course, when we built the industrial park several years later, we made provisions in the industrial park to have sites where that connection could be made. Now it's my understanding that there's a proposal to sell that right-of-way to Montgomery County for incorporation as part of the rail trail, an extension of the rail trail system. We do have a rail trail system in Fulton County. It's not used very much. I've walked it with my dogs, I've bicycled it, I've jogged it, but the traffic on it is minimal at best, even under the best of conditions, and in the winter months it's non-existent. So I don't think it'll be a major cultural feature for Montgomery County going forward. I don't think it'll be a generator of tremendous revenue from the standpoint of tourism dollars. It's hard to see how that would happen, because most of these green space linear parks, they call them in other parts of the state, where they have railroad right-of-ways that have been turned into parks, have something else going for them. They lead to a lake. They lead to a destination place, a hotel or something, so that there's a reason why people would be going from point A to point B on what was formerly the railroad right-of-way, now a bicycle trail. This is not the case in Fulton County. It really doesn't go anywhere except through the industrial backyards of what used to be our industrial areas in Johnstown and Gloversville. It's also, unfortunately, in Fulton County, been the site of numerous crimes. We had at least a couple of rapes, numerous assaults, and home invasions that occur all the time off of this trail as it winds its way through the two cities, because it's not patrolled and it's not lit. And it was never intended to be a major thoroughfare. But the criminals have found it, and they wander across it all the time. And they commit these various acts. And this kind of thing can extend itself down into Montgomery County now. I don't think it's a good idea. It's my understanding that the purchase price is approximately $60,000. I could be corrected on that, but that's what I'm being told. I would think in Montgomery County, which has had certainly very difficult budget issues in the past couple of years, to find a better place to spend $60,000 than to acquire this right away. And I think Fulton County should retain it. If Montgomery County wanted to do something in conjunction with Fulton County, I think agreements could be worked out, where we didn't have to give fee title to it, but could work cooperatively with our sister county here to promote various activities. But I think our losing control of this right away is not a wise decision. And it's something that most of the people in the city of Johnstown know nothing about, and probably most of the people in Fulton County don't know anything about. It was an action taken by one or two of the members of the not-for-profit corporation controlling board, And I was told at one point that they were being threatened by Montgomery County with taking it through eminent domain, which when I made some inquiries about that, I was told that there was nothing to that. But that's what was told to some of the board members, and I think it led them to this decision. So for those reasons, I think that I would ask that the board not ratify the contract to go forward with the sale of that right away, and or at the very least, put it over for some additional study, so that we could have a little more in-depth review of what's actually involved in doing this, what Fulton County would be losing, what you think you might be gaining or maybe not be gaining, and not do it in a rash way. I also just note tonight's copy of the Leader Herald. Apparently Johnstown has dropped out of its portion of the rail trail funding for the portion that runs from the start of your right, what would become your right of way, into the city of Johnstown, because they didn't want to spend the $167,000 that would be required to do that. So apparently even the city of Johnstown isn't terribly serious about the extension of this rail trail, based upon this account in any event. So for those reasons, I would ask you to table this particular resolution, or perhaps kick it over for some internal study with your planning department and people in Fulton County going forward. Thank you.
Anybody else? Right back here.
Hello, my name is Marshall Hildreth. I live on Switzer Hill, and I am definitely in opposition on this project and study and what have you, for a couple of reasons. One major one is definitely risk to safety, and I know I have my own personal experience with that because late this past school year, I was actually almost hit by, or severely injured by a tractor trailer who was not supposed to be coming down the hill, and they're not supposed to be coming up. Thankfully, my bus driver, who very nice lady, she told me to go back, and not nearly did this gentleman in this tractor trailer signal me to step back or hurry, and I feel that an increase of flow, whether it be Switzer Hill or another road, can increase not only students or risk student safety, but also private citizens who maybe don't take the bus. But to me, I don't see any benefit, nor have I been told any benefit. Then again, just a child still, but I still feel like I should be able to voice my opinion on this. And definitely I feel that the beauty that comes along with where we live and why we live here, especially in the countryside, in the beautiful Mohawk Valley, I feel that will be risked by this bypass. Obviously, Switzer Hill may not be the only choice to where this will be constructed, but I feel in the generalization that this is definitely not in the best interest of the people in the community in the long run. And just need to voice that.
Thank you. Somebody else?
Mr. Chairman,
Raise it back. Raise it back.
Johnstown Wall, 200 Switzer Hill Road. I agree with all of the folks that have spoken against the notion of going ahead with the study. I'm curious if Mr. Subek's talking about this railroad right away. First, I've heard more about that, but I do know that in Fultonville, they're talking about grant money for waterfront, or for doing some positive things here in the town and the village. I mean, there may be some capacities for us to do some positive economic things and cultural things here yet. I've lived here for 25 years, and it's still beyond me how all of this got located just across the county line. And here we are again, and this gentleman called it the Switzer Hill bypass. I'm not here to call that, and I hope that doesn't take, so that we don't start reading that. And the wall, the Switzer Hill Route 5, I remember when we built the wall, my recollection is the wall was built as a retaining wall because the hill was crumbling. It had nothing to do with some sort of bypass. I would like to see us look at positive things that we can do in the county and something we can get a bang for our buck with. I don't see any benefits in Montgomery County with this solution. Thank you.
Before I let you, Mr. Mayor, anybody else first, please? Is there anybody else?
I like to say something.
Go ahead.
I'm Teresa Hastings. I have an apartment directly across from the mayor, and I left there 9 years ago because of all the trucks, and I have a son. I am now a current resident, 293 Switzer Hill Road. The trucks seem to follow me. I'm a teacher up on Fultonville, and being that the Switzer Hill is so close to the school, we have student athletes, the cross-country team, the track team, there's runners constantly training on that road. We have routes. I fear for their safety. And I just want to say that, being that the school is so close to Switzer Hill, that I fear for just kids. And that's going to be of utmost safety in my book. Thank you. I'm in complete opposition of it. Thank you.
Anybody else? The floor is yours, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks. I just wanted to follow up with a couple things. Because they're looking at the study, the first thing I came up with is to help protect our sales tax base. You know, as the county, if it's being sold in Montgomery County, you folks in the county level are going to benefit from it. But on the local level, if we require that as part of this, if wherever they're going to put it, create a pact between the towns that it would be R1 residential only anywhere near this highway. It's worked. We've seen it. I've gone to the meetings at the chip factory in Malta, and they are in need of new housing. They're in need of additional housing, and it is spreading out to us. We don't have that here. We do not have the new housing available. Slowly growing, but not quick enough. But aside from that, we talked about safety and these folks, and I can appreciate what they're saying. Because in our village, between here, the county building, and the fairgrounds, we've had 71 accidents in 1 year. I fear for my 86-year-old father, who has to walk down the streets. He does not drive. So when you talk about walking the street, walking the road, I certainly appreciate that. But we have trucks coming up onto our sidewalks, even though we've reduced the corner by MBT Bank by 13 to 15 feet, the last time said. And it still is creating damages. And yes, the state will be the state, and the state will pass on the buck to us for picking up the tab. Just like they resurfaced our village last week, or last year, on Broadway. No sooner have they left, it's not even 6 months later, and our storm drains are already sunk back into the ground and bang all sides of the night. It's interesting that the folks up on the Hickory Hill, the reasons they came here, or on Switzer Hill, sorry, that came here, because I can remember when I was a kid, mowing lawns up on the outer parts of the village, and the folks that lived up on the hill saying to me, "Oh, where do you live?" "I live on Broadway." "Oh, you live down there where the aristocrats live." Because that's exactly what this was. We have lost and we've had our property damaged. I own 4 properties, three properties on the main road. And I have to pressure wash my buildings 3 times a year just to maintain them. And when we're talking about condensing it to smaller streets, smaller passageways, versus going out into the country, and I'm not saying put it through the residential areas, I'm not saying to put it anywhere. I want to hear what they have to say about the impact that it's going to have on our market, on our sales tax, on our way of life as a whole. And Mr. Civic, with all due respect, I remind you that the village of Fonda is part of the town of Mohawk. You kept mentioning, and I just want to be clear of that. The town of Mohawk, and that's what I mean, Mr. Redzikowski is voted in as the whole town, and he's representing 10. If I was made more aware of what was going on at that level with what was going on with this bill, I could have given you 200 phone calls. The bottom line is it's going to have an effect somewhere. So I would much rather find a rural portion of the county where it's not going to have any effect on any of our residences. Thank you very much for letting me go.
Further, yes, sir.
John Hildreth, I live up on Switzer Hill Road. For me, this is more an issue of quality of life. And as he stated, the mayor, he made a very good case, and I can appreciate that. There is a reason why we do live here, and that is because it is rural. For me and my wife, we both work in Albany. We're a young couple. I can tell you if this case study goes through, there's not much incentive for young couples to stay in Montgomery County right now. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll close out this portion of public comment. I'm sorry,
Can I say one last thing?
if it's real short.
They will be very short. And since Mayor Peeler turned and looked around to me, I thought of something I might want to just turn and respond with. No, I mean, Bill, I know you're a pretty good guy and you're well thought of in here. But I just want to clarify one thing. Did you say at your first chance here tonight that there's 14,000 trucks come through the village per day?
There's 14,000 just on Bridge Street,
I
10,000.
asked that this not be a debate session. It's public comment to address to the board.
I can answer you, President.
If you want
Okay,
to.
all right,
Yeah.
I just thought I'd try to clarify that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Hearing none, we'll close out this portion of public comment. We have a motion to approve the minutes from previous meetings. Supervisor Wheeler, Supervisor Cottington, seconds. Discussion, clarifications, corrections. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? We have a motion to approve the budget transfers. Supervisor Sweet, Supervisor Strebe.
Herb's the default guy.
Yeah, he sure is. Corrections, questions, changes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, they're approved. We have no unfinished business. And so we'll get right to the resolutions. First resolution is resolution number 167. It's a resolution authorizing the chairman to sign early intervention county agreement preliminary escrow payment, sponsored by Quackenbush, seconded by Stark. Supervisor Quackenbush.
I'd like to pull my sponsorship at the request of Kim Conlon.
There's no need for this, is the reason why she asked you to do that. Do we have somebody who wants to pick it up? Seeing none. Resolution number 168, it's a resolution authorizing the chairman to sign revolving loan fund agreement, Trace Locos, Economic Development and Planning, sponsored by DeMeza, seconded by Coddington. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? One abstention. Supervisor Quackenbush. Resolution number 169, resolution authorizing the chairman to sign agreement Mohawk Valley Snowmobile Clubs Incorporated, Snowmobile Trail Maintenance, Economic Development and Planning. Excuse me, sponsored by DeMeza, seconded by Greco. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 170 is a resolution authorizing the chairman to sign grant application, Snowmobile Trails Grant in Aid Application, Economic Development and Planning, sponsored by DeMeza, seconded by Coddington. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 171 is a resolution adopting policy and procedures for Montgomery County Correctional Facility to assure the constitutionally mandated rights to legal access for all inmates and authorizing chairman of the board to sign an agreement for services with FMCC and rescinding resolution number 62 of 2013. Sheriff. Sponsored by Sweet, seconded by Wheeler. Discussion. I expected some applause just from me reading that. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 172 is a resolution authorizing the chairman to sign FBI antenna site license renewal agreement from the sheriff, sponsored by Sweet, seconded by Wheeler. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 173 is a resolution amending the 2013 operating budget for Sheriff, sponsored by Sweet, seconded by Coddington. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 174 is a resolution amending 2013 operating budget, New York State Office of Homeland Security, SHSP 2010 grant, emergency management, sponsored by Sweet, seconded by Reshkowski. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 175 is a resolution authorizing chairman to sign agreement Fulton County Community Services, Accounting and Fiscal Consultant Services, Mental Health, sponsored by Quackenbush, seconded by Strebe. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 176, a resolution authorizing transfer of funds, court-ordered forensic mental health services, mental health, sponsored by Quackenbush, seconded by Strebe. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 177 is a resolution awarding bid for roof replacement project, sanitary district number 1, sponsored by Reshkowski, seconded by Barone. Discussion. We need an amendment on this, and I'll make the amendment, and looks like the dollar amount is $104,645, and it is from Mid-State Industries Ltd. Sponsored or seconded by Quackenbush. On the amendment, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? On the resolution as amended, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is one abstention. Resolution number 178 is a resolution approving options for purchases of lands for right-of-way, the FJ&G Rail to Trails Project, Public Works. Sponsored by Reshkowski, seconded by Grieco. Discussion. Supervisor Quackenbush.
Well, Mr. Schubert certainly enlightened us a little bit, and I don't know if appropriate, Chairman, if we could maybe discuss with Paul or whoever, some of the things that Mr. Schubert, is there maybe a possibility why we should table this? You know, I'd like to hear that, you know, maybe, I'm not looking for a debate about what it was said, but at least educate us a little bit on exactly what it is we're going to do with it. You know, if they could do that now, if not, then I would look to table it just because we need to look into it.
Okay, but before you do that, I'd like to allow anybody else that has
Yeah, no,
comment
that's
to.
fine.
All right, are you done?
Yeah, I just was looking for some sort of a general.
Okay.
I'll second.
I just want to say I'd support
Not
tabling.
Are you motion to the second it?
Oh, no, I'm
Yes.
not motion to table yet. I'm just saying it should be an option maybe that we'll do. I'd like to.
Well, before you do, I've had conversation with Paul Claiborne, and the language is not in the contract that allows any kind of agreement for a right-of-way either for sewer or for rail traffic in the future. And I think that that's something that we should at least give Fulton County the opportunity to come down and talk to us about. So with that said, I'm in agreement with your desire to table this and send it back to committee.
I'll make a motion then.
We have a second by Supervisor Wheeler.
Yep.
On the table. Pardon me for a second. Clear my throat. Supervisor Reshkowski.
Chair, I have a discussion.
This discussion, there's no discussion on tabling of the,
Okay.
once we tabled. If it fails,
I'll pull my resolution, I'll pull my sponsorship to table to allow Greg to talk, because that's what we were trying to do, was let everybody talk, but again, I thought we were done. But I would pull my motion to table to allow that to happen, so.
okay. Supervisor
It was
Restrepo.
just a question. Thank you, Chair. Thank you. And the question I had, is this going to go back to General Services Committee?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
And I'll make my motion.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. On the motion to table, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is tabled. Sent back. Resolution number 179 is a resolution authorizing the City of Amsterdam paid firefighters to join the Montgomery County Workmen's Compensation Program personnel, sponsored by Greco, seconded by Thayer. Discussion. Supervisor Domesa.
Well, I'm going to oppose this, and for the simple reason that here again, we have the city reaching out to the county and want us to pay more money for something that we're not getting anything in return. First of all, if you remember a year ago, we had to chase the city for the workers' compensation bill. We finally ended up taking the payment out of their sales tax money because they refused to pay the workers' compensation bill. So now we're putting firemen into the workers' compensation program, and it's going to cost every municipality more money. Listen, we already pay enough money in the town of Amsterdam for workers' compensation. $27,000 a year, and that's all I want to pay. I don't want to take on the city of Amsterdam firefighters. Let them stay in the program they're at. And again, here they're coming to us for something, but yet, when we ask for a reduced rate in our water rates, it's like, you know, we've asked for to be put on the moon. It's ridiculous that we keep giving, but we don't get anything in return for it. Same with the town of Florida. We're having problems with Beach not keeping up with their water rates and paying the fees that they have to pay. And Target the same way. But yet we don't get anything in return for that. Here they are asking for us to give them money again. They get a portion of my sales tax that comes off of Route 30, above $1.3 million. The sales tax agreement that we made here in the county was basically for water because they held a gun to our heads. We had no choice. Beach Nut needed to be located in the town of Florida, and I had a water line that was to be put in for $3.5 million that I was going to lose if I didn't get a water agreement with the city. So they had us over a barrel. Now they're coming to us for another favor. Yet we never get anything in return for our money. So I'm going to oppose this adamantly.
Supervisor Stark, I have you next.
Well, I agree for different reasons, though. One, I feel that this resolution came out of nowhere, that perhaps didn't go through the right committee. I have a lot of questions where we're in a budget crunch. Every week we're approving more out of the fund balance. We're spending money. Budget time's coming up. This is a job. This is a county job. And I don't want to pit the county against the city. We're in this together. But before I vote for this, I need a lot more information. And I will oppose it tonight.
Anybody else? Supervisor Street.
Doug, did you have a chance to look at the local law?
I did.
It doesn't give the city the right to piggyback with the county on all things workman's comp related?
It gives the city the right to participate, but there's a specific provision that calls for the county to finance the cost of the workers' comp for the volunteer fire departments. And what you're addressing here is the county picking up the cost of the city paid firefighters workers' compensation coverage. If you were going to go through with it, and Rich and I talked about this last week, but if you're going to proceed with the resolution, I was going to recommend an amendment actually to add a further resolve to clarify that aspect of it.
So,
But in answer to your question,
what you're talking about here is the cost of the coverage, really. That would be the difference from what is presently happening. That coverage would become a county cost rather than a city cost.
But by local law,
Yes.
they do have the privilege of falling under the county umbrella.
Yes, yes.
And if we were to deny that, would they not have a case to make?
Well, they can participate in the program at the city's cost. Whether that's effective for them or not, I don't know from a standpoint of analyzing their workers' compensation program. But at the present time, it appears from the local law that they could participate in the program, but they would have to pay the cost of it for their employees.
In its entirety. So it wouldn't fall under the county's bill.
Correct.
It would be under our policy, but they would have to pay the cost.
Yes.
All right.
I believe that to be the case. That's my understanding of it, yes. It's my read of the local law from 2011.
Okay, thank you.
We've got Supervisor Quackenbush.
Just so I'm clear, Doug, the local law allows them participation, not necessarily us paying for it. So they can do that now. We're not denying the city the opportunity to come in under our workers' comp. What this resolution is for the county to pay for it. Am I on with this or am I off?
No, I agree with that.
Okay. So they can come in no matter what we do with this resolution. It's just a matter of who's paying for it. Second part of the question. Huh? No. Second part of the question. Right now, I know it was brought up at the meeting, the other municipalities are paying for it themselves, or they're not paying for it, the county is. Can I ask Rich that?
Well, they're not
The
the
county's
municipalities.
paying for the volunteer firemen and volunteer ambulance.
Right, for all the volunteers. So the county right now is paying just so everybody understands, the county right now is paying and footing the bill for every other fire department in this county for their workers' comp. And what Corporation Council was asking us when they were here the other day was, would you please do the same thing for us?
That's correct.
That's, is that okay?
When you get your bill September 1st, it's going to be just for your employees, not for volunteer firemen and volunteer ambulance.
And I also believe that by allowing them in and under option 4, didn't it reduce us by a small amount, but it actually reduced it for the other,
Yeah, a little bit.
not a lot, $20 or something for the town. I just want to make sure I understand what I'm voting on.
Clear?
I'm clear.
Okay. So I've got Supervisor Sullivan and then Supervisor Stark.
The difference between the two, one is a paid fire department, and the rest are all volunteers. When we refer to the fire departments, they're paid, it's a paid fire department as compared to volunteers who are working for nothing. That's all I got to say.
Supervisor Stark.
And I'll pit the city of Yancey and firefighters against any and all comers. They do an admirable job. I believe the cost is about $42,000 to us. You know, being from the city, a supervisor, I've not had one city official or the corporation council or the mayor contact me and ask for support from this. I seem to remember another county, a corporation council for another county, having an opinion that footing the bill for workers' compensation might run afoul of some type of law. I'd like us to table this and do a little bit more research on it. If it comes back that we can afford it and that it's not going to cost us more than $42,000, that it's not self-insured, that it's completely legal for us to pick this cost up, I'll vote for it. But this came out of nowhere in a presentation, really not discussed before this, and so I would make a resolution to table this.
Do you have a second to that?
I got a question first.
No second? Okay. You're Go ahead, Supervisor Gomez.
Rich, the rates that you handed out here with the 4 options, every single one of the options, the rates go up for each municipality. So, is this just a normal increase, or is that an increase with taking on the city as well?
Option one is, if nothing changed, if there's no fire and police in the city, that's option one. That's your cost.
Okay?
The city, remember, the city right now is in your plan. All employees except for fire and police.
Right,
So
understood.
that's your, you said no tonight for fire, that's your cost September 1st.
Okay,
Option one.
right. And then option 4,
You bring in a fire, paid fire in the program. That their payroll increases on the county payroll. And that's why you have, everybody has a decrease a little bit on option 4. Except for the county pays more money.
there's no decrease on the town of Amsterdam.
From option 1 to option 4.
Option 1 and option 4, it went up almost $400, $420. So there's no decrease for me.
3,000.
Well, that's from the 2013, I'm just talking from option 1 to option 4. There's no increases.
Well, again, it's based
So
on
maybe the town of Amsterdam is the only one getting the shaft here. I don't know. Again, do that on purpose or what?
Are you down, Supervisor Gomez?
Well, I'm voting no against this.
Supervisor Wheeler.
Thank you. I support the City of Amsterdam firefighters. I support all the volunteer firefighters. I was a large part of the St. Johnsville firefighters volunteer 1 year, and I love the volunteer firefighters in the village of Ames. Anytime I can support any fundraisers that I can attend, I always will. I will support this resolution. Thank you very much.
Further discussion, Supervisor Gomez.
Just one thing, this has nothing to do with not supporting the firefighters.
I know.
They're brothers of mine.
I know
okay?
you. I know.
I've
Thank
served
you.
with those guys for the last 30 years, so this is against the city coming on. They currently have a workers' compensation plan. Stay where they are. Stay where they are.
Are you done?
So I did have a motion to table.
You didn't get a second.
You didn't get a second. Would you like to try
I
again?
did have a second, but.
I'll second it.
You
I'll
have a
second
at
motion
this
to
time?
table.
On the motion to table, roll call, please.
Supervisor Stark.
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler.
No.
Supervisor Chair.
No.
Supervisor Domesek.
Yes.
Supervisor Allen.
Yes.
Supervisor Sullivan.
Yes.
Supervisor Strebe.
No.
Supervisor Coddington.
Aye.
Supervisor Quackenbush.
No.
Supervisor Radzikowski.
No.
Chair, excuse me, Supervisor Sweet.
Yes.
Chairman Thayer.
Yes.
Supervisor Stagliano.
No.
Supervisor Grieco.
No.
The motion to table has failed.
Okay, on the resolution. Further discussion? Supervisor Stagliano.
Just one final point, and I think Supervisor Quackenbush made it, just to make it clear. Prior to 2011, we were billed separately for all the volunteer fire departments. I would have a discussion with Rich that Town of St. Johnsville was contracting with the village for it, and you know, why was I paying for it? I should have paid for it in my contract with the village. But prior to 2011, the towns, the villages were all assessed for the workers' compensation. We had, God forbid, we did have an accident several years ago, volunteer fire department. One of the volunteer firemen were injured severely. A wall fell on him. You know what I mean? He's covered under our workers' compensation. this is just an issue of fairness. This is not whether they deserve it, they don't deserve it. We're doing it for the villages and the towns. We should be doing it for the city. We're not bringing in the police departments. No one asked. We're not doing it for the rest. So, you know, we still have this issue of fairness. So there really is no reason why we should be voting this thing down. Thank you, Chair.
Further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Grieco.
This is on the resolution.
On the resolution.
Yes.
Supervisor Stark.
No.
Supervisor Wheeler.
Yes.
Supervisor Chiara.
Aye.
Supervisor DeMessa.
No.
Supervisor Allen.
Yes.
Supervisor Sullivan.
Yes.
Supervisor Strebe.
Yes.
Supervisor Cottington.
Aye.
Supervisor Quackenbush.
I will support the city of Amsterdam on this, yes.
Supervisor Radzikowski.
Yes.
Supervisor Sweet.
Yes.
Chairman Thayer.
Yes.
Supervisor Stagliano.
Yes.
Say yes.
Yes.
The resolution's passed.
Resolution number 180 is a resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County increasing taxes on sales and uses of tangible personal property and of certain services on occupancy of hotel rooms and on amusement charges pursuant to Article 29 of the New York State Tax Law of the Board of Supervisors. Sponsored by Chiara, seconded by Quackenbush. Discussion. Supervisor Stagliano.
This is just to make it perfectly clear because that title is very long. And all it really does is it says that we can renew that additional 1% sales tax for another 2-year period, which brings in about $6 million, Rashawn, about $6 million. So if we do not renew that 1%, we're $6 million short in next year's budget. All right? So I just want to make sure that everybody's clear. This is not a new tax, it's a renewal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank
Further
you.
discussion?
Thanks for clarifying.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Sorry.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Resolution is adopted. Resolution number 181 is a resolution authorizing execution of 2012 Transportation Community and System Preservation Grant from the Federal Highway Administration for the proposed Fonda Connector feasibility and preliminary design report. Board of Supervisors, sponsored by Radzikowski, seconded by Thayer. Supervisor Radzikowski.
Chair, I'd like to pull my sponsorship of this resolution at this time.
Anybody like to pick it up?
I'd like to pick it up for discussion purposes.
Supervisor DeMessa.
Discussion?
Go ahead.
Well, last week, Larry mentioned that why would we move traffic out of one area where people may have already been transitioned into having the traffic go by for years on a state highway to move it to a residential area or a farm area where it doesn't need to be. $500,000 for a study, and I got to tell you, I would hope that that study is going to be etched in gold for that $500,000. I talked to a couple of engineers, one that's still a current engineer in this area, 2 that are retired, and they all said it's just a pipe dream. Okay, so why would we want to spend? I know it's not our money, but it's still coming out of our other pocket. And regardless of whether the money goes someplace else, maybe it's something that's needed in another area. Why would we want to spend $500,000 on a study? If it's never going to come to reality, not in my lifetime, I can tell you that. Because no way the state is going to spend $500 million to $1 billion on a bridge that's going to go out into a rural area. And this study is something that, like I said, it's not going to ever come to fruition. Why spend the money? And I can't imagine what $500,000, there's only 3 roads probably that the study will probably incorporate. You have the State Highway 30A, which we've invested millions already. Cemetery Street, which has the school on it, and that would be really ridiculous to send traffic up. Switzer Hill or Stoner's Trail. those are probably the only 4 roads that you're gonna look at. And since we've already invested millions of dollars on the railroad bridge that we just put up, that now has a 3-lane highway, I can't see the state investing more money into a bridge that's gonna really, down the road, cost so much money. It's not gonna happen. It's a pipe dream. This is the 3rd time I've said it's a pipe dream for this resolution. So, for that reason, I'll withdraw my sponsorship, and this thing can go to rest.
Anybody else like to pick up the sponsorship? Supervisor Quackenbush.
I think I'm picking up the sponsorship for the same reason. I think I think we at least owe it to the public, even though there's opposition or maybe a few that are for it, to at least allow everybody to understand why, like Tommy just did, and the reason I would pick it up. I mean, at the beginning of the meeting, I went over to Greg and said, "You're pulling your sponsorship, right? We don't even need to talk about this." But I did hear the mayor speak, and I heard some decent points made by all the residents. I would really like to see what a study has to say. I just don't know if I want to. I know it's not our money, and I agree with Tom. $500,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and I don't. Is it 500? I mean, it's 100 on their end plus 4, or is it 5 plus 100?
1 and 4.
You know, it's a lot of money, and the people are going study crazy nowadays, but I mean, unless you actually have somebody look at it, how do you know? I do understand and I appreciate what all the residents are saying about, you know, the possibility of it coming into their backyards, because I don't know that I would want it in my backyard either. One of the questions I had for somebody that I was talking to earlier was, does the grant actually say it's also to study the economic impact? I know Ken had said last week he wasn't sure that it would negatively impact it, but I don't know how we come up with decent information unless you actually, you know, have somebody help us with that. But anyway, I got my 2 cents in. I'll be more than happy to pull my sponsorship at this point, but I won't unless everybody's done talking, then I'll pull it.
We're going to go round robin.
Well, I don't want to.
Further discussion?
Anybody else that wants to talk?
Supervisor Greco.
Oh, I want to, you didn't, this isn't tabled yet, is there anything?
No, that's why I won't pull it.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming. I think that was very important that you did voice your opinion and give us some kind of direction and support. Thank you. Done.
Anybody else? Supervisor Quackenbush?
Pull my sponsor.
Anybody like to pick it up? Moving on. Resolution number 182 is a resolution approving abstract of audited claims Board of Supervisors, sponsored by Shira, seconded by Streety. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? One opposition.
Oh, it's under other.
Under other business,
No.
we're still conducting business, please. Under other business, as all of you are, I'm sure, aware, we've got a very heavy primary season this year. The 10th is a primary, and that's normally our committee night. If there is no opposition, I would like to move all committees. They are normally going to be held on the 2nd Tuesday to be moved to the 3rd Tuesday. We'll have all committees meet on the 17th instead of the 10th. Anybody have any problem with that? And start at 5 p.m. instead of 6. Everybody good with that?
Yep.
You need a motion to that effect?
No, you don't need.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, second by
Second.
Supervisor. All in favor?
Aye.